the Vikings must have made that a major state secret. How big? And I mean, seriously. I mean, we have these super cool swords.
Would you tell anybody?
Yeah, you can't tell anybody where we got all the materials and the technology.
And that's why
to
I
make
think it was
these things.
kind of a closed shop. In other words, it was one group that knew how to make them.
But it's just so weird that they could, like, if they were getting their ingots from somewhere, that the person supplying them with the ingots wouldn't be like, oh, hey, there are other Vikings here right now. All those guys aren't there, and I've got some ingots, so, like, let's see if they want some.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a weird little thing about this, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that kind of steel was showing up elsewhere in Europe, because I'm sure other Europeans were trading in that area too.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's kind of inexplicable. Maybe the Vikings were the only ones that were clever enough to figure out the value of those steel ingots.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much people from the Western Europe area were trading with them, because there's a lot of infighting for Europe itself during this time, and the church is trying to do what it's doing. So why would we pay attention to these heathens when we've got to save our own people?
Yeah.
You know, that mentality.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. But I do know that the practice of making Damascus steel eventually died off as well. It was hundreds of years later, but Damascus steel was something that stopped being made as well. And it could be the same thing. I don't know why Damascus steel fell off. I don't know that anybody really does.
Civilizations decline and die. You know,
yeah,
all kinds of stuff like that.
You know, other technologies come along that mean the sword isn't as useful.
Well, I think, you know, it's part both, right? In a lot of these situations, it's okay, so yeah, we're in decline. We're no longer the supreme fighters of the world. Is it more important that I have a bunch of different swords and shields and all that stuff, or I have one really good sword? You know, is it more important that I feed my family than I have this one really good sword? You know, so the demand may have just kind of tapered off as well.
Yeah.
You're no longer the supreme force.
And it may have been that, yeah, you're right. Arms may not have been as important. I mean, in the Viking culture,
arms were always important.
You didn't sleep with your sword, but your sword was next to your bed, and you always had it. I remember I picked up a book on Viking swords when I was doing the research on this, which was fascinating. And one of the things that they quoted, and I'm going to misquote this, or I'm going to mangle the quote, but it talked about basically the brother at my side or over my arm. And when you look into that, you realize what they're saying is my sword.
Yeah, totally.
The sword is always with you. So if your culture changes and everybody doesn't need to pack arms because we're peace-loving people and we're not going to just attack at the drop of a dime or be attacked at the drop of a dime, maybe that the need for it's gone.
I don't think the need for it disappeared, though, because even if you decide to become less warlike yourselves, that doesn't mean the tribe next county over has done the same thing. So you still want to have a sword.
That depends on the influence of the church. If the church is really, I mean, the church really got its roots going, and that really disrupted the culture. So now we're not going to pillage for everything, or a bunch of the things we need. We're going to go ahead and produce more of what we can produce here, and then we're going to sell it in a peaceful manner. I mean, I don't know. This is all conjectured, but I mean, it's really strange that for 200 years, this fantastic steel is being used in the area, and then it disappears.
Yeah, and it's being used nowhere else in Europe.
Nowhere else in Europe.
Yeah, which is one of the things that's one of the reasons I think that the supply of the ingots itself dried up.
Yeah.
I do
because and not just through blockage from the Russians, because otherwise you inevitably would have seen some of those swords turning up. Not those swords, but similar quality swords.
Yeah,
turning up
and that was the
elsewhere
other
in
thing
Europe.
that was weird to me is I couldn't understand why nobody else's swords were being made by these ingots. They were made by somebody.
Yeah, I think that they found themselves a little foundry somewhere in Iran or somewhere like that, and they just kept it a close secret, and until the foundry went under.
Yeah, or they couldn't get to them anymore, and who knows?
Yeah.
But that's where the Ulfberht lies. Unfortunately, they're mostly broken down and rotten husks of swords. They're still beautiful. The inlay work is amazing in them, and you see these, and they're skeletons of their former self, but you can just tell, just looking at them and knowing the science behind them,
that they're badass.
That they were killing. They were just fantastic at what they were meant to do, which was just killing.
Well, and if you watch that documentary, you know, there's epic. He tempers it in oil.
Yes.
Right?
That is the
and it
best
comes
scene
out,
ever.
and it's just like this burning, beautiful sword.
And it's
then
on
he
fire.
Like blows it out, and you can see it's just gorgeous, and you get this really great image of what it would have been. Sword.
Yeah.
Actually, I really want one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd
Well,
like to have one.
Christmas, maybe.
There
Yeah.
are places online that you can buy replicas.
I want
Not
to buy
the
a
real
real
thing.
I want to buy a real one in the sense that I don't want to buy a replica that's going to break if I actually have to use it. I want to buy a real sword.
I have a feeling you're going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, probably.
A lot of money. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not. Nowadays, you can get pure steel or high grade steel and just do what you want with it.
Yeah.
But if you want one made the traditional way, that's where the money comes.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out Cold Steel's website though, because they might even make a replica of this thing. And Cold Steel doesn't make cigar store replicas; they make real stuff, real swords. So I'm gonna check that out.
All
too.
right, sounds
Apparently
good.
a plug for Cold Steel.
Yeah. I said Cold Steel. Why don't you sponsor us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you are on the internet and you have
You are on the internet.
and you have gotten tired of looking for this sword on Cold Steel and you want to see the links that we've got and the information that we've got on this, you can go to our website. That website, as always, is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. While you're there, of course, you can listen to the episode and you can leave a comment if you've got something to say. We always love to hear from folks. If you're not getting it off the website, and I think the majority of you aren't, you're probably going to iTunes. While you're at iTunes, go ahead, subscribe. If you could leave us a comment and a rating, that'd be awesome. We love to hear from folks, and it helps other people find the show.
Yeah.
And if you have something that you'd like to tell us, whether it be about this show itself or other episodes, or even better, if you've got ideas or stories you'd like us to look into, we love to hear from folks. Go ahead and send us an email. That email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can also go ahead and listen to these episodes on Stitcher. So on any mobile app, it's a mobile app, so any mobile device, you can just stream us and listen to it right there.
We're not like Flappy Bird.
Not like Flappy Bird. You can...
What's with that Flappy Bird flap anyway?
we'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
And you can always go ahead and find us on Facebook. If you do, go ahead and friend us on Facebook and follow us. We always like to hear from folks, and we're always trying to put up some interesting stuff.
One of us
yeah.
tries to at least.
It's good times.
Yeah.
We have email.
We do. It's, I would say, maybe the best email we've ever gotten.
Oh, now
You
it's,
were
it's
very
better
excited.
even than those fake emails I keep sending in.
Yeah. It's better than the fake emails you keep sending in, because we know they're you. So this
Because
one
they come from
is-
your email address.
Oh, that's what I've been doing wrong.
You got to make the fake email addresses.
I
Man.
guess so.
So this one is from Mandy, and I'm
Mandy.
sure she is so excited that we're reading her.
Yeah.
I can't even tell
Hey,
you.
Mandy.
Mandy says, "Hey there. I really can't overstate to what extent your podcast is my favorite. I have always been passionately interested in exploring unexplained phenomena, and your podcast beautifully balances skepticism with playful curiosity. I appreciate how all your theories are discussed, the absurd ones alongside with the more reasonable ones. With most paranormal podcasts, you're either exposed to the ghost face type or those arrogant skeptics that scoff at anything that might not be enlightened as enlightened as they are. Your show is really fun, and I always feel like I'm learning something." So, and then she goes on to suggest a couple shows. Which
Oh, yeah. This was really great.
They're great episodes. They're like a little out of what we usually do, but we're always looking for those suggestions
Yeah.
because, as you can clearly see, we kind of get that tunnel vision of
Yeah.
this is what an unsolved mystery is. And yeah, so that's pretty much what she had to say. So we were pretty excited.
Yeah.
Mandy.
Yeah, no, those are some
Your
great
email
ideas.
was amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Mandy.
It was great. We might take you up on that PS.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah, we got to look into
someday.
some stuff, figure some stuff out.
We
So,
do
yeah.
need an intern though. So yeah, Mandy.
Yeah, thanks for the nice email, man.
Yeah,
We appreciate
absolutely.
it. Thanks for the compliment.
Okay.
And we will definitely consider one of your suggestions is actually something that I had been considering. And I won't say what it was, but I'll poke around and I'll ask my sources. Got many sources.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, FBI, CIA. I know all those guys.
Yeah. Stop it, you're going to get looked into again. All right, well, let's get back to things.
Yeah.
All right, well, boys and girls, I think that's the end of this one, and we're just going to have to close it off, because I don't know. I mean, I personally, I like the idea that a local Viking group was making these swords, and that would explain why they were all made there, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think that's the most plausible theory. And yeah, so there you go.
I'm pretty sure it was aliens.
You think it was aliens?
Duh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Aliens.
Hey guys, Steve here. You are listening to one of our original 26 episodes. If you've listened to any of our new episodes, you're going to notice that we're sounding a little different in these ones.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
There is.
They've been remastered
They have been remastered.
because they had a really annoying hum.
Yeah, I mean, a huge thanks to listener James for doing almost all of the legwork on this
Yes,
thing.
yeah.
You'll also notice if you had listened to what we're calling the Lost 26 episodes before, and you're re-listening now, the music and sound effects are gone.
Yes, we've gone back to straight audio. So be warned, we sound a little different today than we do in what you're about to listen to.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thinking sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Wait, do you hear that?
What is that?
It's a foghorn.
Annoying, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
So now imagine listening to that for hours, or days, or weeks, or years.
No,
It's
I'd
just-
go crazy. That's an annoying noise. What is that noise?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
Welcome to Thinking Sideways. I'm Devin.
I'm Steve.
and I'm Joe.
We're going to talk about UVB. That's what that noise is.
UVB 76?
Yeah. So this station transmits a buzzing sound that lasts about a second, pauses for a second. You know, you just heard it. It repeats 21 to 34 times a minute all day long for years.
21 to how much?
34.
So about
times.
every other second or so.
About. It's
Yeah.
not exact.
Yeah. And what's the range? I mean, where can we pick this up in the U.S. or is it
Sometimes,
really?
but not all.
Depending on atmospheric conditions, yada yada
Yeah.
yada. Is it broadcasting to this day?
Yes.
And it's been broadcasting how long?
So it's been broadcasting since at least 1982.
Uh-huh.
That's the first actual recording of it. But there have been reports of it as back as far as 1976,
Wow.
which is apparently when the U.S. started monitoring it. So maybe even longer than that.
So what is it?
So I've listened to this thing a lot. It's been on my radar forever, no pun intended.
Do you listen?
You go to sleep to it?
Sometimes
Do you
it's
listen?
kind of soothing
Actually,
after a while.
That's kind of the thing I would wake up to. That sounds a lot like my clock alarm.
After the first couple repetitions, it kind of has this soothing, it's not like the ticking of a clock. It's not quite that repetitive, but it's still repetitive enough that it's soothing to me, at least. I understand I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can hear people talking in the distance behind this thing often, which means that it's a tone that comes from a device in front of a live microphone, not recording.
As in a speaker with a microphone in front of it?
Yeah, as in maybe actually a foghorn that is there, and it goes bah in front of a microphone that is connected to the broadcaster that broadcasts it out. And actually, the current theory is that it's two different transmitters, maybe likely within the same building, maybe within a couple rooms of each other, because you can hear things in the background that are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But that one goes bah, and then there's a pause, and the other one goes bah, and then there's a pause, and it goes bah. And you can kind of hear that variation if you listen again really closely. Hold on, listen.
A little
It's
bit.
slight. It's very slight. There are some recordings where it's way more apparent. And it will not surprise you to know that these come out of Mother Russia.
Of course.
Good old Mother Russia.
Mm-hmm.
A land of men chasing bears with bats.
So we're not here to talk about this noise, although it is weird.
We're not?
No. We're here to talk about what happens when the noise stops.
Nuclear warfare?
No.
I'll bite. When and why did the noise stop?
Hold on.
Девятка, тройка, восьмерка, двойка, Николай, Анна, Иван.
What is he reciting? A bunch of numbers and letters in Russian, or what?
He is.
Yeah.
This transmission is from, this specific one is from December 24th, 1997. It was the first recorded vocal transmission of the stop of the buzzer. And if you would really like to know, I can tell you what he says, but it doesn't really matter. It's in code, obviously.
How long does the message go on for? How many characters?
So with the one exception, all of the messages are 1 or 2 call signs, which says what they're broadcasting from. And then it's 1 or 2 more number sets of completely varying length. It goes from, I've heard some that are like 5 or 6, and I've heard some that are like 20 or 30, which is another thing that makes it a little creepy, I think, that it's not just like the same message going out every time. So that one went out, and then one went out on December 9th, 2002. One went out on February 21st, 2006, and that was it for 4 years.
Those were the only vocal.
Those were the only vocal.
Has anybody cross-checked those dates with events in Russia on those particular dates?
Yeah, and they come up with nothing.
Really?
Nothing of any kind of consequence.
So it's totally benign.
It seems that way, yeah.
No, it's out of Russia. It's nothing out of Russia is benign.
3 years ago, the transmission just disappeared. Like, actually disappeared. Like, just went off the air. The buzzer just went off the air.
Oh, I don't know if you know it, but they don't have electricity in Russia now for about 3 years.
3 years ago. Yeah. On June 5th, 2010, UVB went silent for 24 hours and then resumed normal buzzing. And then on the 10th, at approximately 21:30, which is in Coordinated Universal Time, there was a series of Morse code beeps emitted with the buzzer for just under 4 minutes. And then a little bit later in that day, they had another voice message that was very, very short. 2 days later, the signal went completely silent again. And then it was followed by a series of thumping sounds that were apparently in the same room as the open microphone, which was followed closely by a hail of electronic noises, which faded quickly into the buzzer broadcast. Later that day, voices were heard conversing loudly behind the buzzer.
So the janitor walked into the room, knocked a bunch of stuff around, somebody fixed it, and then they were in there complaining about him? Is that what I'm
It
gathering?
kind of sounds like that, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
Or somebody was having sex in there.
Maybe. It could have been that too. Nobody really knows what happened there. And then on September 1st, the buzzer was interrupted by 38 seconds of Dance of the Little Swans from Tchaikovsky's Ballet of the Swans. And a Morse code signal accompanied that fragment. So it was right underneath it. On September 5th, a female voice was heard counting from 1 to 9 in Russian. About an hour later, for a muffled male voice trying to read a message, but it was garbled. So it sounds like they were having some technical difficulties, right?
A little bit. Based on the fact that it sounds like it's a microphone in front of a speaker, it doesn't sound high-tech to me at all, so not shocking.
Right. And then on September 7th, there was a male voice that made a broadcast. It was just, series of numbers and codes again. But it was one of 25 voice messages that would be broadcast by September 30th. So in 23 days, they sent out 25 messages after being basically silent since 76, did I say? 72.
So no human voices on it, and then suddenly just a slew of talking.
Suddenly, yes. And then
No, I thought you said that the broadcasts were cut off in like 2007 or something like that, or 2010.
they stopped for a while.
Yeah,
For
and
a
so
really long time.
well, okay. So you said there were 25 messages in September of what year?
2010.
2010.